Welcome back to Barely Filtered, everybody. I have two you guys are like bigwigs in the podcasting space. I feel like you guys are like some of the OG podcasters, right? Yeah.
Feels like it. Whenever people say that, I'm like embarrassed.
Do you feel old when I say that?
Some people think that's like dope, and I'm like, I get embarrassed.
I'm still 27.
I'm still, literally a baby. But we started in 2016. So we started on our closet floors just out of like a deep desire and intention to connect with one another. And podcasting was not at all.
Yeah, and then now people like me are coming and saturating the space. But you guys are already up there, so you're not threatened.
We need you. No, the thing about it is that we got in it because I love podcasting.
Yeah.
Like I love connection and conversation and growth and learning. And even before we started, podcasts changed my life. Like I was living in New York City, working in corporate jobs that I literally hated. And I just wanted more for my life. So to have access to information and resources on the subway every single day on a podcast was like my dream. So if you can be a part of it, if I can be a part of it to support people in their growth, that's like my dream.
I love that. I know. I feel the same way. I mean, I hope that I'm giving people something of value. Sometimes I just feel like, is anybody out there? Okay, so this is the Almost 30 podcast. They're top-rated wellness and spirituality show. Would you guys call yourself wellness and spirituality? Yeah. Okay. Hosted by best friends, Krista Williams and Lindsey Simcik.
Simcik.
I'm going to mess it up. Simcik.
Don't worry.
Okay, so you guys launched in 2016, as you just said, and your podcast offers heart-centered, humorous, and impactful conversations. And this is just what the internet has told me. I did a little bit of research myself, but I never like got really into it because it's called Almost 30 and I'm 36. So I was like, this is going to make me feel bad about myself.
I know. I'm 26 still, but
literally. We started when we were almost 30 and the intention was to help people move through that time because we were so in it, like feeling like our life was falling apart.
God, yes.
But really, it's like if you're moving through change, which so many of us are.
Yeah.
Fine.
Right.
This will help you.
So I heard you guys talk a little bit about your Saturn return. Is that when you're 28? Okay, because I had a child when I was 28. Like that's when I had my son.
Wow.
And yeah, my podcast knows, but you guys probably maybe don't. I have two kids. I was married and then I got divorced 2.5 years ago.
I got divorced 2 years ago too.
You did? Oh my God, look at us.
All the real G's have been divorced.
I know. We're being preyed on by the same people in LA. That's really
3 minutes we're already talking about the creepy creeps.
But you don't have any kids and you do have kids.
I have one
and you're
son,
married.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, being a boy mom is it's the best. I have a little girl too, and being a girl mom is obviously amazing as well. Yeah. But I feel like having a son first, it's just I don't know. It really took. It brought out every maternal bone in my body, almost to the point where was left just cracked open.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And that was when I was 28. So I feel like that was a huge transition for me. What were you guys going through when you were 28?
Yeah. So around that time, I had just broken up with the person I thought I was going to be with for the rest of my life. You know, I'm sure a lot of people can nod their head at this where you're like, I'm going to marry this person. Yeah. I see myself with them for the rest of my life. You know, you're in your 20s, you're kind of making very reactive decisions rather than like thoughtfully thinking about whether it's actually aligned.
Right.
And my soul, you know, that just like inner voice started to speak to me like, I don't think this is it. And I was like, no, it fucking is.
Yeah.
And
it's like, don't do this right now.
Yeah. Honestly. You know, don't mess up my plan. And there was just this part of me that started to sabotage it. I ended up cheating on him, blowing up the whole relationship. And I was just kind of left in the wake in this like abyss. And I didn't know that I was being launched into 7 years of being single, but I would have opted out of it. But I think now I know it was like the most purposeful time of my life.
Wow.
And I think I was really set on this path to, like so many during this time, to walk back to myself, to really get to know myself, out of relationship, really get in right relationship with me and my soul and trust myself again. And yeah, it was chaotic. It was challenging, but you know, life was really coming together. It wasn't actually falling apart like I thought it was.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, good on you to sabotage it, right? Because I think a lot of us, you can either go one way or the other. I think I was totally strong-arming my whole situation when I was 28. And I was just like, okay, this probably isn't the right person. But like, for some reason, I thought 30 was like a deadline. And like, I had like all this shit that I needed to get done before I was 30. And for me, I knew I wanted to have a kid. It was like, no questions asked. I really almost didn't care to who. And so it was like, I was with this guy who was taking care of me really well. he was 15 years older than me though, but in a way I kind of felt like, okay, well, he's so much older. He's like, he knows what life is about. So I feel safe in this situation.
Yeah.
And I definitely, I feel like I was at that crossroads too, but for some reason I felt like having a kid would bring me the purpose that I was really looking for. Turns out that like, that's not really what happens. They just give you a mirror right to yourself and all the things that you still need to work through that no amount of marriage and things and money and babies is going to bring to you. It really, you need to return to self.
Yeah.
And we get there in all different ways. But what were you doing at 28?
So there's so much of what you said too, just with a 30, I think there's like the deadline people have in their minds. But so me at 28, in my Saturn return period, I had just moved to Los Angeles and I'd quit my job in the corporate world and tried to pursue blogging full time.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I want to be a blogger. Like I had no financial plan. I had no strategy in place. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I ended up getting in tons of debt and I was working like as a server, doing a bunch of random different jobs. But I knew that I wanted to have purpose in my life. I knew I wanted to have impact. Like I just knew that I was here for more and I didn't know what that was. And I think a lot of people, when they're in their 20s, they know that they want to live a life of purpose and meaning, but they don't know what that looks like. And I was like, I'm going to try and figure this out. I was in a long-term relationship with my ex-husband. And I was also really struggling with my body. Like I was someone that really struggled with my body my whole life. I felt like I was never thin enough. I was never, whatever the size I was. And it was reached a point where I just felt like completely consumed by the hatred I had for my body and by my disordered eating. And I remember a moment where I was like walking across my living room and I was like just spending my day doing like the Tetris of how many steps I walked, like how many calories I burned at SoulCycle, like how much I ate, all my macros and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, I can't live my whole life like this, but I feel like I'm going to. So I just kind of surrendered and accepted it. And that kind of put me at a rock bottom place with my body where I had to figure it out. So I just felt really lost in life. I felt really lack of purpose. I felt really unhappy and I felt like there had to be more for me. And I think for a lot of people in their 27 to 30 year period, which is the Saturn return. And the Saturn return basically is a really important astrological event in our lives. It happens probably 3 times, around 27, around 58 to 60, and then when you're in 90s. And it's the point when Saturn hits the same part of your natal position on your chart when you were born. And Saturn is like the taskmaster planet. It's like the grandfather. It's going to bring up the things that you're not looking at. So for me, that was my body. For me, that was purpose. For her, that was how she's relating in relationships. For you, that was probably how you're relating to your partner, your kids.
Right.
Like it's all the hard things are brought up. And it can be really powerful if we look at things consciously or we look at things with intention and meaning. But I think I wasn't, and I didn't really know where I was going or what I was doing.
Yeah. So say that one more time. Your Saturn return starts when you're 28 and it ends?
It's around 27 to 30. So it's around like a 3-year period.
So it doesn't have to be an exact.
Exactly. It changes based on your chart. So yours will be different than mine and hers. But it happens to every person. And it's really just like some of the biggest years of your life. Most people have their children during that time. Most people get married during that time. You have like debt that you're working with or your first job. Like it's just a really powerful period. And we wanted to feel better and less lost during that time. So that's why we came together.
And also, interestingly, at the same time, so around between 25 and 27, the prefrontal cortex part of your brain comes online. And this is like long-term planning, decision-making, emotional regulation. So I'm sure like if you think about yourself in your early 20s, I'm sure a lot of your decisions were made based off of just emotional reactivity. I was there. I was like, everything was like very reactive rather than like responding thoughtfully to my life, feeling into nuance. So the fact that that's also happening in our late 20s makes so much sense because finally you're kind of thinking about, wait, who am I? Like, who am I really? And what do I want? Rather than, what did my parents teach me or expect of me or society or like, what did I learn in school? And then also happening in the brain, there's like a really high rate of myelation, which is like kind of nerdy, but it's like basically the nerves that create those neural pathways become really strong. So this is actually a prime time to work on these things, and kind of get right with yourself. And it could lay the foundation for the rest of your life.
Interesting.
Did you feel lost when you were like, when you first had your like kids? Or did you feel like on purpose?
Well, I feel, since we're kind of in astrology talk, I'm like all air and fire. So a lot of my, like I'm an Aries, Sagittarius rising.
Wow.
So like I feel like my
What's the
whole life,
moon?
my just Pisces, which is my like emo part.
Yeah, I'm Pisces.
You are?
Yeah.
What's your rise?
My rising's Virgo and my moon is Sag. So we're kind of like a little
Yeah, we're like a little, but you have a nice little balance of Earth. And
I do. I'm like psychotic. I'm like, mine, you know, like everyone with their chart, they like find reasons why to love it. I'm like, mine's the best.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds pretty balanced. Yeah, I think I was at a point where, you know, partying was like a big part of my 20s, but I also like, you know, I didn't waste any time from like college. I went right to law school, realized I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I went and got my master's in teaching. Then I did that for like 2 years. And I was like, I'm bored. I want to get another degree. And I was like working in special ed. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to do any of this actually. I was just like doing. I'm like, I just want to be a mom and like just have my son. And then I did that and was like, I also don't feel, I think it was just like my Saturn return was me realizing that nothing outside of me was going to bring me the peace and purpose that I thought it would.
Yes.
And that was like a kind of a hard pill to swallow because I'm like, well, I'm supposed to just like go inward now?
100%. I'm like, it's just you again. I remember that. I think a lot of people in their 20s, like, you kind of follow the plan. For me, I followed the plan. I went to Chicago. I had a long-term relationship with my college boyfriend. I had amazing friends. I was working at the job, doing the thing, and I was like, I literally am not happy at all. I'm miserable. I don't love my life. And so I kind of had to blow it up in different ways, like she said. And I think when you get to your older in life, like now I'm in my 30s and you are too, you really have to find what actually makes you happy outside of everyone else. You have to find that purpose within. And that's like the greatest gift of a lifetime, even though it's really hard.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. It's the scariest thing at the moment, and like even to think about it, to not be constantly looking for something outside of you and feeling like, oh, the more I do, the closer I'm going to get to it. When you actually do have that breaking point and realize like, oh, it's actually all within me. It's actually like a huge relief, right?
Yes,
but it
100%.
takes a while to get to that.
Yeah, it was the biggest unlock. I feel like it was in my first like year or two of therapy where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the one in every situation we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I am the common denominator, as they say. Like, this is me. What am I bringing to the situation? It can be overwhelming at first. You can be like, damn, I got issues. But then it's like, oh no, I actually have now a path forward, like a way in which I can like solve or like make sense of these situations because you're in control. You can take responsibility, which you said is like, it's just so liberating.
It is liberating. And also that you don't need to do more. Like it's actually sometimes just about doing less.
Yeah,
completely.
I think that's huge. I think I was doing all the things, but none of the right ones. You know, I was so desperate for something outside of myself to make myself feel good. But I think for anyone listening, you know, people, I think when we talk about loving ourselves and knowing that we're the source of everything, it's kind of hard to understand if you don't get it. Because I remember people telling me that when I was in my 20s, I was like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean by self-love? What do you mean by that? And I think what's helped me the most with self-love is that just coming to a place where everything that I think, feel, and do is okay. And I'm still loved even if I do it. For so long, my self-love was based on my performance, based on how much people liked me, based on what I looked like. It was everything external. And so now I allow all of my thoughts to be. I'm accepting of my judgmental thoughts, my mean thoughts, my, you know, critical thoughts. And I know that it's okay. Obviously, I want to have more loving thoughts. But I think having an internal dialogue that we're okay with or at peace with has been really supportive of my path and my journey and really cultivating that relationship within. And that does mean like having conversations with yourself. It means more time alone. It means more rest rather than doing anything else.
Yeah. I love that. How do you think you were able to change your relationship with your body, or have you? Do you still kind of default to old patterns of thinking?
You know what's funny? I think I would be curious of your journey too, if you have one. But so the way that I helped really support my body journey was internal family systems.
Okay.
It's a psychotherapy technique. Have you
I've done it. Yeah, I did it recently. Did ketamine therapy, and that was a big part of it.
Okay, did you like it?
I loved ketamine therapy, and I love internal family systems. Sometimes I feel like it can be a little corny, cheesy, but like it actually, I use it a lot. I guess you can explain what it is, but I use it sometimes because I lean guilty, like I especially as a mom too. Like I struggle with a lot of guilt, and that has helped me feel like, okay, if this was like your 8-year-old self that did this, would you want to punish her? Like, you know, it helps you be a little bit more empathetic to yourself and think of yourself as your younger version, right?
Yes.
But you can explain. Maybe I'm not explaining it right.
No, you're doing it perfectly. So the brain actually, it's able to process when we think about things personified. So you just shared the example of you thinking about your 8-year-old self and being able to love her more than if we're thinking in an abstract.
Yeah.
So when I think about a little girl that's 8 years old or 6 or 4, I'm able to love her so much more deeply when I'm able to be like, I love myself. It's like helps us process. So internal family systems is a psychotherapy technique that was founded by Dick Schwartz. And he discovered it actually working with eating disorder patients.
Oh, okay.
So he realized in his process and his practice working with eating disorder patients that they were having multiple experiences. So if you've ever struggled with food and body, you know that there will be a part of you that's like, okay, tomorrow the diet starts.
Yeah.
I'm going to work out. I'm going to walk. I'm going to do celery juice and water and all the things. And then you have another part of you that comes online after work that's like, yo, it's time to snack.
Yeah.
Like I'm about to eat everything. Like I'm going to binge. I'm going to, do all the things.
Right. I earned it.
I earned it. And so you're having these two experiences. And he's like, this is so curious that someone has a desire to feel good in their body or eat well, but they're not doing it. What's happening? So in the food case or scenario of this, that part of you after work that maybe binges is doing it to soothe. Because that part of you doesn't know a better process for soothing than eating. So I was someone that, struggled in my household. It was kind of chaotic. There wasn't a lot of emotional regulation. So I was using food to soothe, to cope, to numb, to not feel, to feel all the things. Like food was my outlet. So in my older life, that was sort of the way I was relating to food. I just only knew it as a way to restrict or control. So when I started to do that therapy, it was really helpful for me to kind of uncouple the relationship I had with food and my body and sort of look at it from the outside and then support myself in having a better relationship. And now I feel amazing. I don't feel perfect, Like even recently I was traveling for like weeks and weeks and just doing all the stuff. And I got home and I was like, oh, I should fast today and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, that's like that old pattern that you can kind of get in.
Traveling is tough. Traveling is tough. I don't know if you feel this, but I always feel like when I'm not in my routine or I don't feel like my feet are planted, I don't feel grounded. It's like it's harder to keep that perspective of, being kind to ourselves and giving ourselves. Yeah. I'm like a pendulum. I'll be like, I'll go balls to the wall, like party mode. And then I'm like, then I'm like some like monk, it's like not fun to be around. People are like, which version of you do I have this week?
God, my therapist said that to me when I logged on the other day. She goes, who's here today?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, this is the scariest thing
literally
I've ever experienced is my therapist asking me who's here today.
Yeah. And I feel like every relationship I've been into, it's always with a guy who is nothing like that and has a really strong sense of balance, very grounded, like a very like earthy type person. And that's why I like them because I feel like they give me a sense of like feeling
Purity,
more planted. But they're always like, why do you do that? Like, why do you say like, I'm not drinking for 3 weeks? Why don't you just like have a glass of wine if you want one, but like you don't need to have 2.
Yeah.
Like last night I went to dinner with my boyfriend and he had 1 glass of wine. I had 2. This morning I woke up, I was like, ugh. Remind me like I don't like to drink. There's no point. It ruins my sleep. I feel like dehydrated today. He's like, yeah, but why do you have to have 2? Like, why don't you just have 1?
Why don't you mind your business?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, mind your business.
STFU.
Honestly, stop watching me. Stop clocking me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here to have fun.
Exactly. I'm here for a good time. Oh my gosh.
And so you're in a relationship now?
Well, it's new. It's only 3 months.
Okay, that's great. That's exciting.
I'm really excited about him.
Okay. What do you like about him?
Well, I really like, one of the things that I really like about him is that he actually really likes me and wants to be in a relationship with me.
I'm literally crying at this.
That is number one.
Honestly.
I know.
He shows up when he says he's going to.
Literally. There's no weird things about like, oh, should I say this next or should I text it? There was never any of that weird texting stuff. There's no games. I don't have a lot of unanswered questions.
Wow.
There's no there was never any weird. He never leaves me feeling uncomfortable or guessing. I also think he's super sexy. Yeah. He wants what I want for the future. And he makes me laugh. He's really silly. I feel like we're really good friends. And I feel like we could be like best friends before even the sex. But like also their sex. But I don't know. I feel like I've dated a bunch of people since I made literally a whole podcast about it. Just all the random date experiences I've had. And I feel like I've finally kind of figured it out. There's been a lot of guys that I've dated that are like, there's just always that like waiting until they're going to show up differently, or like just I like to try to give people the benefit of the doubt,
hoping to change them.
Or just like hoping maybe I don't know them well enough yet, or it's still new. And then usually I find that in the end it's always something that I kind of had an inkling about in the beginning. So
it sounds like you said before, just like I leave them feeling a certain way, like good, secure, peaceful, like. I think that's such a big thing where I think a lot of women feel one way or the other, but they're not trusting that feeling.
Yeah.
It's such a huge mark
really
of growth in that area where you can trust yourself and say, when I leave this person, this is how I feel. And you can trust that piece is actually giving you a lot of information rather than having to overanalyze or overthink.
Right. There's a lot of overanalyzing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Women are just... We are just...
Especially with the internet. It's like, what does it mean when this person says this? Or what is this? Like, what should I do when you finally have sex with the person and you've done all the right things, you've waited the 3 months or the 5 dates or whatever, and then you do, and then they pull away emotionally. It's like, it doesn't matter what the specifics were of the situation. It matters that I feel like he's pulled away.
Yes.
Or... I think you can tell me what you think, because are you single, or you're dating?
I don't know.
You don't know. You're in a situation.
We're currently this week. We're not sure.
I don't know.
But you've been dating.
Yeah.
And do you feel like when you're dating in your 30s. What's your age group that you are
For men, I'll do
now?
35 to 45.
Okay, 35 to 45. Do you feel like the pool that we're working with, there's a lot of attachment issues I'm finding. Like I think it's,
and I love an avoidant.
Saying,
let me tell you what.
I'm a golden retriever.
I'm like, let me feel you.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of my friends always says, she's like, you are black cat with women and friends, like girlfriends. And she's like, you are so golden retriever with dude.
Interesting.
I'm like,
so do you date women as well?
No, just with my friends.
Oh, okay.
She's like, you're black cat with friends. I'm like, because I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm like very detached.
Too.
Yeah, I feel very safe and secure. But I think I'm repatterning my process with men where I really do seek out avoidance or men that are unavailable.
Yeah.
That's like my thing.
Same. I for years, I did that. What do you think? Because I'm sure you know all the book in psychology too. I've had a lot of them on my podcast. Like, what about you is not ready?
Oh, girl. What about me is, so basically just for people that are listening. So I was in a relationship for 10 years. We were married. And then I've been divorced for 2 years. I didn't date.
We're the same. I was in a 10-year relationship. How long was your marriage?
My marriage was a year.
My marriage was 2 years.
Okay.
I went. 2
2 years. It gets crazy because we loved each other more. And then I didn't date for a year after my divorce because I was like, I just kind of need to be in my own energy.
Same.
Which was beautiful. So I've been dating for a little over a year. So basically, what about me is attracting men that are unavailable? So I think there's a part of it that is truly like, a part of me wants to give myself grace and be like, I do believe that for the right man, I will be fully available.
100%.
And I think the men that I've reached out and sought that are unavailable, I know that they're not my person, but I'm interested to see what's up. So I'll give myself that grace. Yeah. And then I also believe that there's a part of me that likes to earn love. And there's a part of me that wants to like believe that I need to work for love. So with the men that are unavailable, I'm like working for love or I'm proving love.
Like it's going to be more worth it the more effort you put in.
Yes. I'm like, if I just do this, then they'll respond. And I think because of the way I grew up in my family, I'm so used to inconsistency that inconsistency feels normal for me and it feels like love. So I kind of like find that in my relationships. But it's funny, the last man that I was with, ChatGPT helped me see this pattern of the relationship more clearly than I've ever seen in my whole life.
Chat helps me with all my relationships.
Chat daddy? I'm always like chat daddy.
It's like, it's me again.
I'm like, so guess what? And they're like, the cancer man again. I'm like, yes, this cancer. They know, they're like, the cancer man did this.
I'm
they're
dating
like,
a cancer right now.
I love cancer men. They're my favorite.
My dad's a cancer. I don't know.
Dating your dad?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I don't know. Definitely parts of that, the earning love thing for sure.
Yes. And I think a lot of women do that. In society and culture, a lot of women are socialized to earn love, whether we're earning it through how we look or being perfect or presenting in a certain way. So I think it's a very natural part of us. But then we also make ourselves earn our own love. And I think in life, when I've let myself sort of be and not earn my own love, where I can just be who I am and I still love myself, that's when I'm really been able to attract men that are meeting me in a different way. Yeah. Even though it's not perfect.
I find that to be very, like my relationship with my friends has helped me like love myself on a different level. Do you find that like that your female relationships have been very healing?
Yeah, I mean, the most.
Yeah.
I feel like female friendships have been just a mirror. I mean, Krista is like number one with that, where she will help me to see aspects of me that I am totally missing or I'm totally shitting on, you know, without cause. And it's so beautiful. You know, I had a kind of a breakage with the female friendship in my middle school, high school years, which was so formative during that time.
It's really tough. It feels like a death.
Yeah, I had a lot of, there was like this random bullying that happened where I felt like I was like, I'm liked, everybody likes me. And then all of a sudden it just kind of came. But that experience was very formative for years and kind of made me not trust women. And I was kind of like, keep you at an arm's length. But then in my late 20s, I feel like I really started to cultivate friendships that really showed me the truth of who I am and also who women can be in my life and in my village. Like even when I get married and I have kids and the important role that they play. Yeah. It is so, so important. And then also, you know, I think, you know, my friendship with Krista in particular is just such a huge vehicle for growth. So like if you are listening and you have female friends that bring up things in you and you have challenging times, but you are both willing to show up in integrity and honesty and with love and respect, I can guarantee you they are going to be the relationships that like teach you the most. And you have to be willing to stay for that. You know, I think I was prone to like run away and be like, no, this friendship isn't working.
I don't need you. What do I need you for?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt because I remember having that same experience of feeling like really disappointed and hurt by girls. Wow. Just like bullying and that sort of thing. And I always had my sister, so I was like, I don't need female friends, whatever. I have them to fall back on. And I'm going to find a guy and that matters more anyway. But I realized the same thing, like my relationships over the years, especially going through things like divorce and having kids. Like, I don't know if you found this, but ever since having kids, one of the most unexpected blessings that I had from having kids was like the female friendships that I made that were other moms.
Yeah, of course. I didn't expect that. I was actually, when I first had Mav, I was like,
yeah, exactly. No new friends.
I'm like overwhelmed. This is a lot. And I mean, having a community of moms that I can lean on, tap into. I mean, moms are the most resourceful, like be there in a second's notice type vibe. And I really needed that. It like healed a part of me.
Yeah,
I was like,
me too.
Oh, you need
How old's your son?
He's 20 months.
Oh, okay. So he's a baby.
He's a baby.
Okay, let's back up in your story a little bit because you broke up with this guy when you were 28 and then you were single for 7 years?
Yeah, so we broke up when I was like 26 and then I like kind of launched into that like abyss of my Saturn return, about 7 years of being single. I was dating people, but no like serious or long-term relationships. I was just like picking all the wrong people.
Right.
No one, like it was the type of person that would like text me at 11 p.m.
You up.
And then I'd be like, I am available. I've actually been waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
You've got a full face on.
I'm like falling asleep watching it. And I'm like,
I canceled all my plans all weekend.
It's crazy. I just finished work.
The stress. I mean, the lack of self-respect. But I kind of had to move through that to understand like what I truly deserved.
Yeah.
But I actually met my now husband in 2012 when I was a bottle girl at a place called Bounce in New York City.
Oh.
I was working a few bars until 4 a.m, trying to just pay rent and be able to audition during the day.
Wait, are you an actress?
I was. Okay. I was like pursuing acting in New York and then LA and just hoping to be chosen. And then we met then. And when I met him, he was so different from every other guy in that club. You know, he wasn't really drinking. He was very direct. He was very clear. He came up to me after asking one of my server friends, like, what's her deal? Like, is she single? Whatever. He was like, I would love to take you out. Like, I would love to get to know you.
3 a.m. or something? It
was probably like 11. Oh, he was like drinking a Sprite with pineapple, you know? And I'm like, okay. And like to myself, I'm like, what? Like, this is so weird. Like he's being direct and clear and like wants to, what? Yeah. He likes me. Long story short, we dated. We went on a few dates, but I just kept him at an arm's length, always. And then I eventually moved to LA in 2014. Soul Cycle, I was working for at the time. They moved me out to LA. And fast forward, Krista and I had started the podcast. We had just like gained a lot of momentum. We were on tour doing our thing.
Amazing.
And we were in New York on tour, and he had reached out. He's like, I saw that you were in New York. Like, sorry, I missed you. Hope all is well with the podcast. Would love to catch up soon. And he had, I didn't know, but had just broken up with his long-term girlfriend. And so I was like, I'm still here for a few days. And we did end up getting dinner on that trip. And it's so weird because I didn't know, with no one that I had dated before, I always thought that like, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if he was the one. Like,
That's
I would
funny
just,
because I feel like most girls are like, I will know. Like,
What do you feel?
you're more pragmatic.
yeah, I was
Now
like,
I've been broken down so many times.
Girl,
Now I'm like,
I know.
It took me a while to trust myself. Like I still
know.
don't
That's the whole
really.
thing.
I'm like, all I know is that I don't know shit. That's all I know.
the self-trust really gets worn down, you know, because you really want to trust a person to like show you who they are. And then when you're like, oh, fuck.
I've dated, I dated a guy who was married, like I didn't know.
Wait,
I'm
what? How
sorry.
did you find out?
Oh, it was there's a whole episode on it.
Okay, I cannot wait.
Yeah, no,
My sister doing the Lord's work, sharing these
yeah,
things.
exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
I know. He was on Raya. That's how I met him. But he was like totally lying. And then I ended up finding out because he told me his son was in the hospital and he sent me a picture of an X-ray that dated like 2018. And I ended up DMing his baby mama because who I thought lived down the street.
Wow.
I knew they had kids together, but it turned, she was like, no, we're married. We live together. We're like, yeah, she's like, oh, again, he's doing this again. Like, it was like, it's a pattern for him. Anyway.
I mean,
Wow.
sister. Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I don't trust, slowly I'm starting to trust myself, again. But that's interesting. So you were more pragmatic. You were like,
I was. And then when a few hours before we had dinner, I just got this like ping. And I think it was just like my guides being like, you're gonna kiss him. And I was like, interesting. I didn't plan on that.
Wait,
but okay.
Did you say your guides told you that? Your spirit guides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I felt, I didn't feel connected to them at the time. I wasn't like doing the most in my spiritual life, but I had this sudden like just feeling come over me. And I was like, okay. So when I sat down to dinner and he sat down, I literally leaned back. I was just like, okay, so you're my person. Like I didn't say that out loud in the moment, but I was like, this is so interesting. I can't believe it. And he had launched into like a whole story about something that happened that day. And a little bit into the dinner, we were talking about what we want in another person. Like, what do we want in someone we're dating? And I was just like, I feel like when we talk about this, we're talking about each other. Yeah. And he was like, what? Because I'd always just like been like, please, we're not going to do this.
So he was surprised that
he didn't believe it. He was like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Well, it's also you being direct after not being direct.
100%.
Because he had been direct. So it was like her being like, hey, we're talking about us. And he's like,
yes.
Yeah.
It threw him for a loop.
I remember when you came home and shaved your legs.
Dude, he was like, he's like, come over, stay the night. Because I was leaving the next day to go back to LA. I was like, no. Like, I have an early flight. And I was like,
I don't
fine.
feel like
so
shaving.
I went back to the hotel, shaved my whole body.
Of course.
Not just my legs, my whole body.
The tub was just like, full of fur. Like my sister was just like, she's like, I've got to shave everything.
I mean, I
was like, it's going
we've
well.
all been
We're
there.
all good. You were wearing a leather skirt.
Yep, leather skirt.
And a snakeskin top.
Yeah, I was showing up. Yeah.
It was years
slutty,
ago.
but it was
years ago.
It sounds cool. Yeah, that's till like 2018,
totally.
right?
Yeah, forever ago.
But anyway, so yeah. We've been together ever since. Oh. We got engaged in 21, married in 22, had a baby in 23.
Oh, wow. Yeah, bam.
It happened quickly, you know, but I had no doubt from that dinner on. It was really weird.
Has there been anything that made you doubt it? I mean, obviously you're not going to be like, yeah, I doubted my husband. He might listen. But has there been any kind of turmoil? I don't know. I just saw a meme yesterday that was George Clooney being like, Amal and I have been married for 10 years and we haven't had one fight and we try to think of things to fight about because
they don't like hang out. Like, what are you talking about?
I know. Are they just
like,
not
together?
Always
on the side of the world.
He's in Como. She's in the courtroom.
Yeah, I love you. You're like, I hope for them.
Yeah. I feel like they do hang out. I don't know. I always see them I don't know. Is that realistic?
I feel, yes, there's totally been turmoil on the way to getting engaged where, and I've talked about this before, but like my family had a moment in getting on board. It was happening so fast for their liking. And Sean
how fast?
We reconnected in October 2009, not very fast, but 2019. We got engaged a little like 2 years. really not that fast.
Yeah, well, how come your parents weren't on board or family?
Sean is the type of person that is so himself no matter where he is.
Okay.
And I think that was hard for my family to metabolize in a lot
Okay,
of
they
ways.
like somebody who's kind of playing the like sucking up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And not that he's not kind and respectful, but like he's himself and he doesn't morph for anyone. And I think that's difficult for some people. And so what I had to learn during that time, which was just like so important for me to learn in general in my life, is the more that I own my decisions, step into my life and not look over my shoulder as to who approves of my life, the quicker that those people will, if they care about me, will come on board. And they did. It's like, it's been the coolest thing to see. I didn't need it to happen, but I'm really happy it happened, where my family saw just the love that we have and how happy I am and just how amazing he is. And then to have a child, next level.
Changes everything.
Everything.
Are you guys all in LA, like your family and you and your husband? No.
So I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in
I'm in
New York.
Brooklyn. My family's in Pennsylvania. His family's in New York. So we're close, which is great. I was in LA for 7 years and it was it was a formative time to do what we've done and to just like individuate in so many ways, and that was like the kickstart of my Saturn Return was the move from LA to New York.
Yeah.
Normally there's a huge event, you know, and so that was kind of mine. And I really needed that. But I also, after that 7-year cycle, I was ready. I was like, I'm ready to be near my family again. I'm ready to be with him because we were long distance.
So are you guys are doing long distance podcasting. Is everything via Zoom?
We do. So I'll fly to New York and then she'll come to LA and we'll do like batches.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because it's so much better in person.
How often do you guys record?
We'll do like every other month. But it's fun because I get to go to New York and like she'll come here. And
do you put out an episode every week?
Yeah.
You do? That's so interesting.
Yeah. Do you batch or what do you do?
No, I'm here every Tuesday.
No way.
Great.
Yeah.
Girl, you gotta batch.
I know. Well, I do because like I'll go on vacations and stuff.
For
but like,
sure.
but you know what? Like I did I'm doing 2 in a row today and like I'm done.
Oh,
so
girl.
I can't.
When we were first started, we would do 5 in a day and I'd be working a full-time job.
That last episode is shit, right? Or you guys are drooling on it?
No, I'd be like, so what do you think about like But back then we were talking, it was just the standards were lower.
Yeah.
So like we were talking about nothing. Like it'd be 20 minutes in, we'd be like, okay guys, we just want to be honest about something. And it was like, what are you even talking about? Like you've said nothing has happened, like nothing's
but
going on.
People love it. They get
it was fine, but nowadays it's like podcasts are different. Like they're just so much. You have to be. What's
you
the
listen
value?
to the Huberman podcast, and I'm like, I need to step it
Girl,
up.
you're the only person listening to that full thing. I'm like, no one. I'm like, everyone's like, I love Huberman. He's the best. But I'm like, you guys are not listening to 4.5 hours of this pure science.
Yeah, no,
I'm like,
I
we
know.
need like a Huberman for dummies.
We do. I think
like
there's for sure one. Yeah.
I'm like, I just need like what do I need to do?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
look
Just
at the
tell
sun.
me exactly what I need to do.
Yeah, look at the sun. I'm like, that's like all I want to do.
100%. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk. We have like 10 minutes left, and I feel like we talked a little bit about how you guys met, the podcast, and everything, and like what are you guys looking forward to? How old are you both?
37.
37?
37.
Me too. I just turned 37.
Woo!
When's your birthday?
Mine's March 9th. I'm Pisces.
I'm April 4th. So we're pretty close.
Because you're Aries.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a Virgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we're like, look at us. We're like the whole balanced count. Look at us.
How do you feel like your Aries shows up in your life?
Impulsivity.
Oh my gosh,
for
girl.
sure. Like very impulsive. I think I can come on a little strong to people. Like when I walk in a room.
Okay.
They say like your sun sign is how people perceive you when you walk in a room.
Yes.
I can see that maybe I'm a little curt and like the way I speak, the way I think I could be a little softer. But also
no, it's you.
As we've gotten older, don't you think you kind of become a little bit more of your rising sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think actually mine's I hear you. So my North node is in Pisces and my South node is in Virgo. So my sun and my rising are Virgo and Pisces. So it's more like your North node is what you sort of seek to become in your life or sort of what you move to. So I'm hopefully becoming more Piscean.
Okay.
Which is softer because my Virgo is like my perfectionist.
Well, you're
like
a healer. Your resume was like, you're a healer, you're a coach. You coach. So yeah, all that feels very Pisces
very
to me.
Piscean. Yes. Because it's just like, I love like getting in the details with people. I love just like seeing the unseen. Like I love that element of stuff. And my Virgo was more my almost 30 days where it was like building the business, like building the brand, like all of that type of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like when I talk about astrology, some like half my listeners go off, and I've actually had people like just go off board where they're like, we don't care. I've had DMs, people are like, we don't want astrology.
Oh my God, love. Yeah, okay, sorry guys. Please.
But I
hear you.
I love, like, I listen to Chani. I have the Pattern app. I actually have like an astrologer. Her name's Rose Astrology. You can find her on Instagram. She lives in Spain, and I call her and I pay like $300 to hear her for an hour, and she gives me she knows everything.
I know.
Wow.
Have you ever done psychics or mediums?
I have, and it's like, you're going to have to tell me the good ones because I feel like but it's been kind of hit or miss for me.
I'm in a phase where I'm like not about them because if it were them, I'd be married with children already, and it's obviously not.
Well, there's free will, right?
There's free will, but I don't think my free will would be here now.
Yeah.
with my
if we listen to them.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I guess, okay, so you started this when you were in your late 20s, and now here we are all 37. How funny. Like, what are we looking forward to? Like, you guys got to tell me what is something that you are most excited for in the future? I don't know. Are we in our late 30s now?
Girl, don't even. Me saying 37.
The fact that she said 37, I was like,
because I'm like, now that I'm dating,
wait, I'm not 37. I'm 36.
Girl, that's what
I just turned 36.
Earlier.
Yeah,
I've been lying about my age to men.
I'm like, wait, how old am I?
You're like, girl, we're all 37. I'm like,
you're 88.
I'm 88.
Is that why you have 888?
One of my followers gave this to me for free, and I just love it.
I just turned 36.
That's what
See,
my
all the numbers are the same. Now I'm just like, I don't know. I'm in my late 30s.
As you get older, so what I'm excited for and just kind of getting older, and for anyone that's younger listening, when I remember being younger in my 20s, and they're like, life keeps getting better. And I was like, not for you. I was like, it's not going to get better for me.
Yeah.
But I just feel like as you get older, it does get better. Like, I care so much less about what people think.
Yeah.
My priorities are in place. I know myself. I know my body. I know what's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once I really came to a place of deep self-love and acceptance, and really a connection to God, a connection to myself, that's when I felt like my life began.
Yeah.
And so I just am so excited to continue to cultivate a life that feels uniquely me, rather than what anyone else wants me to do or whoever anyone else wants me to be. And especially being post-divorce. It's just been, again, love to my relationship, but it's just been such a pleasure and a delight to become the woman that I am outside of relationship and really discover that new aspect of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing a lot of spiritual, like that there's a big value on spirituality. Was that something that came about in recent years, and also how do you hone your spirituality?
Yeah, I think when we think about spirituality, it's such a nebulous word. It's like, what are we talking about with spirituality? We're talking about tarot? Are we talking about crystals?
Are we talking about astrology?
Like, what are we talking about? For me, it's just this deep peace and inner knowing and relationship with self. So it's even the voice within. It's like, how do I feel in this now moment? How am I relating to this person? How good can I be to myself, and how good can I be to others? My spirituality and my spirituality algorithm is different based on where I grew up and sort of the things I've been exposed to over time. But I just have found that the more I've deepened my sense of self and my sense of connection to God, the better I've felt. And whether people believe in God or universe or source, I think it can be such a beautiful thing to believe that there's a benevolent being that loves you and that cares for you and that's collaborating on life with you, whether you call it creator or whatever.
Right.
And I've just found that the more I've connected with that belief and that knowing, and the better I've really cultivated a sense of my life.
I feel like all of that sounds great, but for somebody who's like, okay, but like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
How do I start thinking that? Do you have a practice?
Yeah, I would say A Course in Miracles is one of my favorite books.
I love it. Did you read A Return to Love? That's
it's so good.
I give that book to everybody who's going through a breakup.
Such a good one. It is. A Course in Miracles is really, really good. I would say meditation was the very first thing that I did. And I know it's like the most annoying basic thing, but when you begin to meditate, you're really able to see yourself outside of your thoughts and outside of conditioning. And when you're able to get clear with that, that's when you start to hear the voice of God or your spirit guides or whatever it is. So I think meditation is the first thing. And then just getting quiet in nature. It's all the things that we don't want to do is that really connect us to spirit or source.
Yeah. And I'm hearing Kabbalah. You practice Kabbalah too. I think we were talking about that before.
Yeah.
And
I think you're going to give this away.
What do you like about Kabbalah? I'm just kidding.
But I think a lot of us like kind of create this spiritual hierarchy where we're like, okay, so if I don't do this, this, and this, then I can't have a connection to God or source or universe. And it can happen in a second.
Yeah.
You can decide, to have an intention to connect with something greater than you, a benevolent, you want it to be good.
Yeah.
But it can happen in a second. And I think we just doubt ourselves. We doubt the connection. We doubt that like we could be so powerful to connect with something so powerful, but it really is in a split second, So if someone desires to like close their eyes and have a conversation, say with God, maybe they grew up Catholic and they feel like totally far from God because they're like, I'm out of that. Like my childhood was weird. I didn't want to be connected to God in that way.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Yeah. That was our story as well. And, I've just like kind of walked back to that relationship and defined it for myself now.
Yeah.
And it can just be a conversation in the car. It doesn't have to be this like sitting in a pew on our knees, talking to God, saying a certain prayer. Like I don't think my God's like that.
What's your what's your spirituality?
Oh my gosh. If I show you my Audible, you'll be like, whoa.
You'll be like, is she okay?
No, literally. That's what I say. Like if anybody hijacked my phone and was like, looked at my Audible.
So you are spiritual.
Yeah. No, when I went through my like first midlife crisis in my 20s or whatever, quarter life,
of course.
I got like yoga teacher training.
As you do.
Yeah. Like I wanted to be Buddhist for a while. I practiced transcendental meditation for many years. Right now, my most recent spiritual kick is this woman called Byron Katie.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
what do you mean, the work?
Yeah. The work, which is like so cheesy sounds like, but I recently, like Loving What Is was like a most recent thing. And that actually helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Loving What Is a book by a woman named Byron Katie. And basically she has these like 4 steps. And it's like all of the thoughts that bring us into these spiraling places.
Yes.
It's like you just have to, basically it's asking yourself like, is this true?
Yes.
Is this absolutely true?
Yes.
How do we know it's true? And like, who would I be without that thought? And for me, it was like, that's what you mean by like in an instant it can switch because it's like just hearing like who would I be without that thought? It's like, oh wait, I don't have to think that if I don't want to. And actually I feel way better when I don't. So like why am I going to think that weird thought?
So you can have an example for people. It's like I have the thought I'm not successful a lot. I'm like, so the thought in Byron Katie's The Work would be like, the thought is I'm successful. It's like, do I know that to be true? Do I know it to be absolutely true that I'm not successful? It's like, no, I can't say that I know that to be true. And then you look, what would I be without that thought? Like, how would I feel if I didn't think that I wasn't successful, if I thought that I was successful? And then you can also inverse it where you're like, I am successful. How does that feel?
Right.
And just kind of reframing and taking some of the charge out of our negative thoughts.
Right.
And even bringing them outside of ourselves where we're like, okay, what is this thing that I'm thinking? And I think a lot of people live in their stories. We live in our limiting beliefs. We live in these ideas that are not true. Like if you told me your limiting beliefs and the thoughts that you have about yourself, I would think you're insane sometimes. Like
totally.
All my friends will say stuff and I'm like, I'm so confused with what you're saying about yourself because I don't see that at all. And we truly live in this reality that we construct ourselves. And when we can kind of come to the truth of actual reality, and that's why I love A Course in Miracles, we're so much better off. We're so much happier and we're so much more free.
100%. I love A Course in Miracles too. It's super dense though. So like I have so many.
I love the pithy of it where it's like, you are insane. Your thoughts are insane.
All of this is like, okay, Byron Katie.
You can heal your life.
This was when I was addicted to vaping. How to quit vaping.
I am weak at the knees. I'm addicted to vaping.
Are you still addicted?
What was your flavor? No, I'm not.
Okay.
Girl, I'm not addicted to vaping.
My flavor, I didn't do a flavor. It was minty. Okay, then I have like Esther Hicks. Do you guys like her?
Abraham
and there's a lot of like biohacking
Gene Keys is
stuff.
good. Richard Rudd.
Gene Keys is good. Surrender Experiment. You guys know Michael Singer? He was like Untethered Soul. And then a lot of like Yogananda.
Yeah, of course. I don't love Yogananda, but
this was one of my favorite. The Seed of the Soul, Gary Zukov. This was so anyway, there's a lot just and
you
then
should share with your audience just like so
I know I should do like a little
you should do like spiritual books I've read and things that I've learned if they're interested.
I think a lot of them are.
Sorry about the astrology ladies.
Sorry about that. We'll cut it out.
I love you guys.
So you guys have a heart out and I'm mad because I didn't get to hear what you are currently looking forward to in your life. So give me a quick just like what are you looking forward to and then we're going to wrap because I know you guys have a heart out.
I'm just in that place of not knowing too far in the future, and it's kind of nice.
Okay, I love that.
Like where I definitely want to have another child. Okay. But there's like a lot of unknown, but I've been here before. I've been in this place of like I don't know what's next,
which is nice. That's one of the nice things about getting older.
And I've proven to myself that it's okay.
Yeah,
so I'm actually excited to lean in and trust and just kind of like be where my feet are for once instead of planning like what's the next thing I'm going to offer to the world.
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
what can I monetize?
I'm like, I might just be a mom for a little bit.
Yeah, which is a lot. Well, I know before we leave, my listeners, I want to make sure that they have somewhere to find you guys and let them know what they have to look forward to. You guys just wrote a book?
Yeah, we wrote a book. It's called Almost 30, A Definitive Guide to a Life You Love for the Next Decade and Beyond. So this is going to be your book to navigate change. It's really all of our stories, our reflections. We've been through it. We've been through a lot of it. So we're hopeful to be kind of like your big sisters through change. We have wisdom from all of our podcast guests. We have a lot of science in there because I think it's good to ground us in what's actually happening in our bodies and our brains. And it's really a spiritual guide to adulting. You know, I think a lot of us out there are feeling lost and feeling purposeless.
And it better be on your Audible.
I mean, I'm still
the
lost
audiobook
after all that.
The audiobook, by the way, is so good.
The audiobook.
Oh, you guys did audio.
So
Who
much
narrates
fun.
it? Or
Both
we
of
did.
us.
It was the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah. So
to
get
be
that
like,
too.
just like add like a life to your words. It
Oh,
was the
I'm
best. And I was reading it and so embarrassed. Parts of it.
We were like
there's
crying in parts.
producers in there, and I was like,
oh, yeah. It's like, can you guys close your ears for a second?
literally. I was like, oh, it just, yeah. Our book is out, which is really exciting. And I'm the most hard on myself with anything. And this book's amazing.
Yeah.
I read it repeatedly and just really gain so much wisdom from some of the stories we share and all the guests that we've had on.
Yeah.
So our hope is that it supports people in times of change and helping them feel like they're not behind, but they're becoming.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to end on that because I don't have anything better to say than that. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.